Yo, what's good people, it's Cactus, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make any drum hit 10 times harder. I'll be using the new Zodiac teaser kit by Cymatics, and I'll also be using their latest plugins, Diablo and Vortex. You know, it's not often that I do these kind of videos, but these are plugins that I actually bought myself a few weeks back. I've been using Diablo for almost every sound in my new drum kit, and you've heard the kind of beats I've been making recently. This is by far my hardest kit. The Zodiac teaser pack is completely free to download, and the Diablo plugin also has a free version that you can get. So I'm going to leave links to both of them in the description, and I'll show you how they all work now. So let's get into it. Alright, so for this video, I'm going to be creating some new sounds for the Prick Kit Volume 3, which is hopefully going to be out at the end of the month. And I'm going to be using sounds that have already been made, but I'm just going to be taking them to another level. If you're new to sound design, I'd recommend watching some of my sound design tutorials first, just so you know how to create them. The other option is to use a field recorder. So for example, I've been using this Tascam for my new drum kit. I literally took a cactus plant pot and hid it on the side of the table, recorded it with this, and then used Diablo to create some kind of rim shot or perk. I've already finished the beat using the loop from the Zodiac kit, just because when I'm creating new sounds for my pack, I want to test them in a beat as well. If you design things by themselves and don't test them, you're not going to know if it sounds fire in a beat or not. So I'll show you the beat that I've made, and then I'll start creating some new sounds, swapping them with the existing ones and see how they compare. So I took the original loop from the pack, I pitched it down 4 semitones, added some effects, and we've got this. These are all sounds from my new drum kit as well.
Cactus.
Drops crazy. And I'll just show you towards the end. In the hook, the other stems come in with the same effects. So you get the idea. So now that I've got the beat ready, I can start creating some new sounds, swap them for the existing ones, and see if it sounds fire. Alright, let's start off with a kick. We've got this basic kick sound. It's got a bit of punch to it, but it's clearly a little bit weak. I'm going to start by boosting it just a bit. And I've just pulled up the light version of Diablo as well as the full version. So you can see that the full version has a lot more features to it. In the light version, there's just a transient shaper, which I'm going to explain in a minute. A clipper, like Fruity Soft Clipper. You can change the mode from soft and hard. Then there's input gain, output gain, and you can adjust the mix level. So I'll quickly explain each style and what it does. All right, so the punch is basically a transient shaper. And a transient is, for example, if I pull up this kit, it's the short burst of energy at the beginning. So usually there's something loud at the beginning and then it gradually dies off. So when you're increasing the punch, it's giving the kit more attack. So this transient is going to increase. So this is at 0. And then if I increase it, the attack's going up and it's becoming more punchy. The boost is basically EQ. So you want to select the hertz that you want to increase. You can change the settings. So for kicks, you can play with kick 1 or kick 2. And then you can boost it until it's sounding right. Body is a built-in compressor. What a compressor does is change the dynamic range. So instead of having some peaks and then some low parts, it's going to level it out a bit more to make the sound fuller. And that's what makes things sound louder. So if you're listening to this, that's with no compression. That's halfway. You can see it's instantly just got louder. In the heat section, you've got 4 different saturation styles. If you don't know what a saturator does, it adds upper harmonics to a sound. So you'd use them on things like an 808. So higher frequencies are always easier to hear. So if you've got a basic 808 that doesn't have many higher frequencies, it's probably quite hard to hear it on a phone or a laptop. So let me show you on an EQ. So if you look at it on the EQ, all of these lines are harmonics. So if I increase the heat, you're going to see more lines appear up here. The sizzle is another way you can enhance the high part of the sound. So let me bring the heat back and play with the sizzle settings. So there's 3 different ones to choose from. You've got exciter, crush, and grit. So this is with nothing. That's grit, crush, and exciter. I mainly use the sizzle when I'm creating things like hi-hats and snares, anything with a lot of high energy. The width is stereo separation, so if you pull it all the way to the bottom, it's going to be in mono, which means that the signal is going to be directly down the middle, or if you increase it to the right, it's going to start widening the sound. So you wouldn't normally widen a kick, but you could use it on things like snares and hi-hats, even at 808 sometimes, or if you wanted to pull it in mono, you could just bring it all the way to the bottom. Clip is by far the best feature, so if you're a fan of the Fruity Soft Clipper, or you use the T-Rex Clipper, this is definitely on par. I'll show you how it sounds. settings. So a clipper basically stops it going over 0 dB, but it adds a bit of distortion as well, which just makes it sound 10 times louder, even though the dB level doesn't change. For any modern hip hop track that you're listening to these days, I'd put money on saying that the producer has used some kind of clipper in the beat. So this is with no clipper. This is halfway. Already it sounds like it's hitting 10 times harder. And then you've got two styles. You've got a hard clipper and a soft clipper. So the hard clipper, it sounds like it adds a bit more distortion. So the hard clipper, then the soft. It's just a bit of a different sound, so it's obviously going to depend on the style of track you're making. The magnitude basically controls all of these at the same time. And then you have a filter at the bottom, so if you wanted to filter out the highs, you could just bring that back, filter out some lows, bring this forward. And then you can tilt the frequencies by boosting the highs or boosting the lows, depending on which side you bring it to. You've also got a basic EQ, so you can increase or decrease the lows, mids, and highs. You've got a mix level, which you can adjust, so if it's at 50%, then you've got 50% of the dry signal, which is the original kick, and then 50% of all of the effects in Diablo. The signal flow button reverses the signal here, so instead of starting with the punch, it will start with the heat, and it's just something that you can play around with to get a different sound. And then the last button is something to flip the phase or flip the polarity. So look, if I come into the kick, it's the same as this button here. It's going to turn this upside down, and that can just help with making your kick and 808 work together. So sometimes if you're playing the kick and the 808 and they're not really sounding right, you feel like something's getting lost, just try flipping the phase and that might solve everything for you. All right, I've showed you how everything works, so let's play it with the beat and let's make this new kick. All right, so I've copied the kick pattern, pasted it into the new one, and I'm just going to play it with the beat and start adjusting these until it sounds right. Might be right, but maybe a volume increase. And I'll just check with the 808. Always check the phase. Yeah, about there. So this is before Diablo. And this is with. See what I'm saying? How harder it hits. So to save this sound now, I can press Shift and E to pull up Edison, set this to input, and I can just play it the once. And now we've got this. So you can see even just looking at the waveforms how much it's boosted it. Obviously there was a volume boost as well, but just by listening to them. Alright, so next I'm going to work on this snare. It's quite weak sounding, so I just need to boost it quite a bit. Now let's see what we can do. Straight away that snare is hitting 10 times harder. So sometimes you don't want to overdo it. You can just tweak a few things a little bit at a time and then play it in the mix. When it sounds right, you're good. And you can see even from looking at the waveform that I've purposely clipped it quite a bit because it's quite flat here. But yo, that's just modern music. People actually like the sound of clipping. So if your college teacher's still telling you not to clip anything, then you need a new college teacher. All right, let's try with this clap too. So I think that's all this clap needed, just a few little tweaks. All right, I'm gonna work on an 808 now. And for this one, I really wanna test the Vortex plugin. So I'm using a raw 808 sample. If you don't know how to make one, then watch my sound design tutorials because they're quite easy to make, even with stock plugins. So this 808 has got absolutely nothing on it. So I'm just gonna see how much Vortex alone can do. So this is the raw 808. This is what it sounds like in the mix. So you can barely even hear it. Vortex is another saturation tool. So you've got these 4 styles of saturation. You can use the color dial to tell the plugin which frequencies you want to push into the saturation. So if you turn it to the right, you push in more high frequencies. Turn it down to the bottom, you push in more low ones. And then you have a standard filter and you can adjust the mix level. So let's see how we can get it sounding. So I wouldn't normally go with this one, but if you wanted to make a grind bass, this would be perfect. So you can create some sick sounds with it, but for this one I wouldn't use that setting. Let's go through some presets just to make it easier. So this one straight away. Let's listen to the 808 by itself. So this is without the plugin, and this is with. So even just that one plugin has transformed it. It's crazy. Normally when you're designing 808s from scratch, you'd add a few more things like an EQ and compression, but I just wanted to show you how it works. But even if you're not sound designing, you might just be making a beat and you want the 808 to stand out in the mix, or you want some of the drums to hit harder, then at least get the free version of Diablo so you've got a clipper with input gains. Like I said, it's rare that I do videos like this. I don't normally do plugin review style videos, but I bought these plugins myself when they first launched and I've been using them a lot to create my new drum kit. So when Cymatics reached out to collaborate on a video, it just made perfect sense. So I hope you liked the video and I hope you were feeling the beat. If you want to download the Zodiac teaser pack and the light version of Diablo, I've left links to both of them in the description, but with Diablo I definitely recommend checking out the full version as well. You've seen how much you can do within that one plugin, so if you are working on your own drum kits or if you just want your drums to hit harder, I personally recommend checking it out. So a huge shout out to Cymatics for getting involved in the video, and once again thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.